Hi, everyone. I'm Deb Berman. I'm a chapter leader for the Ann Arbor chapter of Together Women Rise, as well as the chairperson for the Featured Grants Committee. And I'm here today with Adrienne Dishman and Muka Mweemba from CAMFED. CAMFED is our March featured grantee, and we have sponsored or funded a project grant that will take place in the Muka province of Zambia. So let's move on to, if you ladies would like to introduce yourselves. Perhaps Muka could go first and tell us a little bit about yourselves.
All right. Thank you so much, Deb, and thank you for this opportunity. We're actually excited to be part of this opportunity. And I must say that I've been with the CAMFED for 16 years. I'm the programs manager, and I've served in this role for the past eight years. So basically, my role is my role mainly is I work very closely with members of the CAMFED Association. So these are young women who were supported by CAMFED to complete secondary education, and they're now giving back as leaders, mentors, and role models in their communities. So my main role mainly is to support these young women as they in turn support girls who are completing secondary school and also transitioning into adulthood.
Great, thanks. Adrienne?
Yes, hi, I'm Adrienne Dishman. I'm the manager of institutional partnerships on the CAMFED USA team. And I've been with CAMFED now for 4 years. And I just want to echo Muka in saying how honored we are to be a part of this Together Women Rise community. So thank you.
Well, so before we talk about the grant itself, maybe you guys could just, or one of you could just talk a little bit about CAMFED itself, the mission and role in the organization. So if anyone wants to give us a little bit of an overview of CAMFED.
Sure, I can start and then I can pass it on to Muka as well. So CAMFED, we're an international nonprofit. So we serve in sub-Saharan Africa. We're currently in Ghana, Malawi, Tanzania, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. And our focus is on the most marginalized girls in the most rural areas across sub-Saharan Africa. And so our focus is really at that secondary school level, because that's the level where only about 5% of young women fully graduate from secondary school. So that's really where our focus and our flagship programs are. So we have comprehensive support. We have financial support to help with books, book bags, shoes, bicycle, menstrual products, anything the girl needs to not just be in school, but to thrive in school. And then we also have social support. So we have peer mentors. You're going to hear Muka speak a lot about CAMFED Association and these peer mentors and guide roles to help with that social aspect, that support aspect. And they really gain a lot of trust and respect because they're seeing young women from their communities and their age supporting them. So that's our level 1. What Muka is going to be speaking with you about today is our level 2 support, which when the girls graduate from secondary school, that's also when they need quite a bit of support because they have this knowledge, but they still need support to transition into these kind of livelihoods, right? So that could be tertiary school, college, that could be starting a business, starting to farm. But what Muka will talk about today is that transition period with those transition guides, again, those peer mentors. So that's another focus of CAMFED. And then the third level we call systems transformation. And that's us, because we've been around now for 30 years. And we've been working with the governments in country for 30 years alongside them. We're starting to integrate pieces of our programs within non-CAMFED schools, so across the country to reach more children.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really amazing. Muka, can you tell me roughly how do you select the girls to be part of the program?
Okay, so Deb, this is actually at community level. So we have structures in all our communities where we operate in, and these community structures are also spearheaded by the District Education Board Secretariat. So we work closely with the Ministry of Education. So once the girls are selected, and basically what we look at is marginality. Once these girls are selected, they are under basically rigorous exercise, ensuring that indeed they really are entitled for the support. Then we come in to support the young women. And I must say that once, I think like Adrienne has said, this is a wraparound support. It's basically a comprehensive support. And once the young women, the girls are done with the secondary school, they're now part of the CAMFED association called the CAMA Alumni.
Oh, there's a lot of women, young women in that association, I understand. But let me just jump to today for 1 second. You have told us that when the girls finish secondary school, this is really a very vulnerable period for them. And so first, how old are they, more or less? And give us a little background about why it's why they're so vulnerable. What obstacles are they facing? What's going on?
Okay. So most of the young women completing secondary school in rural Zambia are between 16 and 21 years old. And 21 years old because, especially in the rural areas, because of quite a lot of challenges that the young women face. So you find that some probably dropped out of school, others probably because of finances, they couldn't go to school quite early. So you find that they'll end up completing their school quite late. That's 21 years. So I must also mention, Deb, that whilst in school, many of these girls benefit from a structured environment and a strong support system. This is where we have teachers. We've got the CAMA members, the CAMFED alumni, the one that I talked about, the girls we supported at secondary school. We also have basically even CAMFED staff that are there to provide not only school fees, but it's beyond school fees. So these young girls, there's protection, there's guidance and encouragement. But the moment they complete school, you find that much of this structure suddenly falls away. So hence the need that extra support. Then at the same time, we find that the expectations rise sharply. But once they're out there, you find that most of the expectations are not being met. So you find that the families and communities often expect the young women to immediately start earning an income. Even themselves, they think that the moment they're done with their secondary school, they'll easily find a job and they'll earn an income. But this is not the case. Some even think that they'll start a business, then they realize that actually running a business also has its own challenges. So some then also find that some girls also face pressure to marry early or take on caregiving roles in various homes. Then another thing that we've also seen is relocation. So you find that these young girls now also relocate to other relatives or also just in search of greener pastures. Then there's also peer pressure, Dave. And without guidance, these young women usually are exposed to a lot of vices such as exploitation, early pregnancy, and many other bad vices that you can think of. So the moment, just what we've seen is that the moment right after secondary school is when these young women are really at risk, and they're usually at risk, and usually you find that they end up exposing themselves to bad vices, like I earlier said. And
so
Dave, and this, yeah.
No, I was going to say, so let me ask you this question. So what exactly is happening in the program? What are the transition guides? How are they helping the girls? What are they doing for them?
Yeah. So, like I wanted to say, so this is the reason why the transition guide exists, to help the young women navigate life after school. So basically, they're able to answer the question of what next. So ensures that the young women are not left alone at this crucial moment. but instead are supported to build economic independence. We're also talking about leadership, we're talking about resilience, and also to make informed decisions about their futures. So during the Transition Guide program, this is where we have the big sisters, the members of the CAMFED alumni, the CAMFED Association. So they are there now to give a helping hand to the recent school graduates. Basically, they're telling their personal stories, they're sharing their experiences in ensuring that ensuring that they kind of address the challenges that these young women are facing or that they are likely to face, and ensuring that they don't even face some of the challenges.
Right. Wow, that's really incredible. And I understand that there's a large number of young women who go through the program completely and then come back to become the guides or to the mentors. So what do you think makes this program so successful? Because you have an incredible success rate.
Yeah, I think it's what has made it successful is the fact that we've seen that there's the increased confidence and self-belief in the young women. And this is both the big sisters themselves, as well as the young women that are entering into the program. We've also seen that there's a strong leadership and decision making skills. We've also seen the clear plans for employment, entrepreneurship, or further education. So the young women are also helped in accessing or basically in applying in various tertiary institutions. They're given information on what courses they can undertake, where they can find the application forms. They are supported through the application processes. And I think, like I've seen, we've also seen young women taking on leadership roles in their communities. And we say that I think around 30% of the alumni, that's across all our African countries, they go on to hold formal or informal leadership positions that undergo the transition sessions.
So leadership is a big part of this, I know. So how does I know this is a deeply rooted program in the community. How does the community respond to young women now taking on leadership roles?
So for CAMFED, Dave, I must mention that we don't work alone. We don't work in isolation. So we have stakeholders that also support the transition guide sessions. So we work directly with parents. Parents are a very big stakeholder, especially in this program. We've seen parents supporting their children and testifying that because of the program, their children are now their children have now taken leadership roles in their communities. Their children are now confident. We also work with other stakeholders, such as the line ministries. So we work with Ministry of Youth, we work with Ministry of Agriculture. So the Ministry of Youth will also be part of those sessions. They'll share the opportunities that are currently available that the youth can benefit. We also have Ministry of Agriculture that will come and talk about climate smart agriculture practices as well as agribusinesses. And we also work with the Ministry of Health, where they'll come and give information on sexual reproductive health matters. So we've seen that the response from the community has been very positive.
It's been described as very deeply rooted in the community, the CAMFED program, and it really sounds like it is. I know Nick Kristof from the New York Times, a columnist, said that, this is an opportunity engine. And given the fact that so many people go through and then are successful and come back, I can see why he would say that. One of the interesting things about the program is the stakeholder-led monitoring. So can you talk to us a little bit about that? Like, how does that work? I know, for example, that data is collected by cell phones, but how is the community monitoring the success of these girls?
Okay. So, like you've rightly put, the data collection is community-led. So we have, I think I've talked about our key stakeholders. So firstly, it's the girls who are currently supported by CAMFED. We've got the alumni themselves. We also have the community champions. I've talked about them. These are the parents. We've got the teachers, the head teachers, the traditional leaders, as well as local government. So the data collection is community-led. So this is the data collection is carried out by the trained community activists. So these are our stakeholders. We train them. And we also have the volunteer learner guides. So the learner guides are also CAMFED, the part of the CAMFED alumni. And these are the ones that go back to school to ensure that the learners are thriving in school. So these collect data directly from beneficiaries in rural areas. And yes, like you said, they're using mobile phones to record the information, which reduces the paperwork and also improves accuracy. Then the data is also uploaded in a centralized database where it is analyzed, and we analyze it to identify basically the trends, if there are any challenges and successes. And once this is analyzed, the information is shared back with the communities, the schools, the parents, the government, so that everyone that is working with us knows where we need to improve our work. And so we've seen that also this approach has, I think, has strengthened accountability as well as ownership of the program.
Wow, everybody's involved. It sounds like
everyone is involved, Deb.
But that's really great, because when everybody has some involvement and accountability, and everyone wants to make it successful, so it sounds like it's really doing well. Let me ask you this question: what does a successful girl look like, or like what are some things that you look at, some indicators that girls have gone through this program successfully? What are some of the characteristics, maybe, or how do we know they're successful?
I think for us, what we look at success is mainly it's apart from the support that we give the young women, it's the ability for these the young women giving back, whatever it is that they learn, whatever it is knowledge that they have gained, the fact that they willingly give back to their communities. I think for us, that's success. So we've got a number of guides apart from the transition guides. So we've got the transition guides. We also have the business guides. These that go back to the community and support entrepreneurs and other young men in their communities to start and expand their businesses. For us, that's success. We have the agriculture guides. The agriculture guides will promote climate smart farming as well as agribusinesses. And they're teaching their communities on how they can mitigate climate smart, how they can mitigate issues of climate change. So for us, again, that's also success. We also have the learner guides. I talked about them earlier, who are helping students thrive academically. So for us, that is also success.
Well, sounds great. And I know that the organization has had a huge impact with, it looks like 7.8 million children have gone to school. You've trained 21,000 plus guides, and the CAMFED Association has over 300,000 members. So I just want to ask one question. Looking to the future, I know that your CEO has talked about using a different lens for girls' education and tackling the root cause of girls' exclusion and marginalization. So she talked about delineating between the girls' education and women's leadership. Can you just take a minute and talk to that, so we'll wrap up? Muka?
Yeah. Adrienne, do you want to take that up?
Sure. Let me take that one. Muka's been talking quite a bit, very beautifully. So yeah, we talk about girls' education and women's leadership, and we work on both of them at CAMFED, right? So we're very clear at CAMFED about how it's long-term. When we start to support a girl in secondary school, we never stop. We find the funds no matter what to complete that support through secondary school and beyond. Because once you educate a girl, everything changes. Once you get her that support, she becomes more confident, more skilled. And then what we're seeing at CAMFED, and have the data to back it, is that these young women are graduating and then going on to start their businesses, to grow their businesses, to employ other women in their community, to bolster their communities, to come into leadership positions in the community, regional, national level. So we're kind of seeing it on both ends of the spectrum. We don't just focus on one or the other. We do them together. But yeah, so in just a result, we talked about the CAMFED Association several times. Muka's mentioned it throughout this interview. And that's because they really are the engine of CAMFED, because they're within their most local community making our programs work.
That's really amazing. That's really terrific. I want to thank both of you for spending a little bit of time with the RISE members. And I can tell you that we are proud to be part of this, what feels like a movement. It's just incredible. So good job, both of you, and good luck in the upcoming year or two with this grant and going forward. So thank you both.